can remember Hot Date and the Pets one, but there's so many at this point. It's been a while. In what year did Steam officially start supporting Linux? I don't think it's quite taken over PC gaming the way Valve might have been hoping back then, though. What is the name of the talking skull in The Curse of Monkey Island? If I remember correctly, Murray wasn't the nicest demon-infused talking skull I've ever met either. In Half-Life 2, what does Dr. Kleiner's head crab eat? That was the head crab named Lamar that actually screws up the teleporter at the beginning of the game and basically is responsible for everything that goes wrong from that point. Which engine is used to create the Arma series? They're now actually already on RV4 for Arma 3. Which of these was not a weapon in No One Lives Forever 2?
Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We'd ask that you take a look at your current seating section and ensure that if you are a sponsor, you are seated in a sponsor seating section, and gamers seated in a gaming seating section. We also have additional gamer seating in the balcony. Thank you so much. Our show will begin momentarily.
They're at 136 now, so they've come quite a ways. Which of these voice actors is not a voice in Guild Wars 2? Roger Craig Smith was the voice of Ezio Auditore, and it's kind of actually hard to find a voice actor who wasn't in Guild Wars 2. There are so many of them. In Team Fortress Classic, every character carried a special grenade. What was the Spy's? Otherwise known as spy drugs, it was shaped like a giant pill and it would make people see things that weren't actually there. In EVE Online, what is the name of the elected player council that interacts with the developers? It seems like a hard job. That's a cutthroat game, and to be the representative, I wouldn't want to do that. Which of the following is not a personality core from Portal 2? There was a Curiosity Core, it was one of my favorites, but it was actually in the first game from the GLaDOS fight there. In Spelunky, which of these items is worth the most money? Of course, diamonds are worth more than all of those, but, you know. In Fallout New Vegas, the character that shoots you in the head at the start of the game, Benny, shares a voice with which character from the TV show Friends? And I promise right now that is the last Friends-based question, so don't worry about that. Finish the final line from Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri with a swell of blank and blank in place of the expected triumphalism. I'm not entirely sure what triumphalism is, but it's a dang good quote. Which of these is not a map in Rising Storm? This scandalous CSGO skin is the only one with the contraband rarity level. Contraband actually means you can't even get the skin from loot boxes anymore because art from it was found to be stolen later. This now defunct developer created the Star Control series. In addition to a bunch of other games, Accolade also made the original Barkley Shut Up and Jam game. Which of these names is not one of the starting pilots in Kerbal Space Program? I feel like Jebediah is a gimme. Everyone knows Jeb from Kerbal Space Program. That's common knowledge at this point. What game evolved out of a student project called Narbacular Drop?
Welcome back.
Hey everybody, this is Rydo. It's early in the morning for my time zone, particularly considering what Digital Devolver did last night, late into the night. I only watched 2 hours of their rubbish stream that had nothing to do with video games, and then I finally gave up. So somehow, through some small miracle, I woke up early enough to watch the PC gaming show. Otherwise, I said I wasn't even going to bother to watch it. So I've decided to, since I'm up, watch it and stream it and comment on it, and if people want to get on the chat and talk with me, that's fine too, and play a little bit of Hearthstone while we're doing that, which has been my preferred distraction method as going through this. These streams often aren't, they haven't proved to be very jam-packed with information. Now I will say the Xbox stream did have a lot of stuff to watch, but the EA stream was ridiculously boring and set the bar very low. And I think still the EA stream has the
original minigun being Sasha, so I don't know why
the prize for being the worst stream, considering how EA is a very old company and they could have just re-released old things like Magic Carpet and tons of other games, or they could have teased trailers for having some projects for some remakes.
That might have thrown some people off. Which gave us Quake 3, Unreal Tournament, and
they had stuff to talk about at the very least. The Digital Devolver stream, if they had talked about video games, would have had a lot less games to actually talk about because it's a newer company and it doesn't really have a ton of new things to talk about, but it could have gone back and talked about all the things it had published and at least kept it about video games instead of having this ridiculous ever going, as far as I could tell, adult stream weird content.
What would the correct response be?
They're doing some questions right now on the stream. I don't want to answer them because then it would take away time from people who are watching. So,
what year did Minecraft first become available on PC?
But I know a significant number of these answers.
But that whole kind of generation was renamed to Minecraft Classic.
Bethesda, also very disappointing stream. Because all it was doing was trying to pretend like it had a lot to say when it really didn't have anything to announce. A couple VR versions of Doom and Fallout, and an expansion to Elder Scrolls Legends, and an expansion to Elder Scrolls Online. They didn't mention Prey at all. A DLC for Dishonored. As far, yeah, I don't think they announced any new games or anything in development.
Which developer made the very first Sam and Max game?
When you look at what ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda, has, and this is, well, it's called a Bethesda.
At one point they tried to make a sequel, but all of the Sam and Max games since then have been made by Telltale. The original
the ZeniMax is the parent company, but it's the Bethesda stream because they use Bethesda as all their game names, and they use ZeniMax as all their lawsuit names. So, so if Bethesda wants to sue you, it will come under the parent company's name of ZeniMax, and if they want to sell you a game, it will come under the Bethesda's name. But when you look at all the other subsidiaries Bethesda, well, ZeniMax technically has, there's a few. They have like 6 companies that they've been buying up. But there isn't a ton of things. They could have tried to do a remake of Rage. Certainly. That's one of the outstanding games that remake or remaster of Rage. They could they could have doubled down on cell phone games, honestly. Like, they made Fallout Shelter. It wouldn't be insane in the next year for them to at very least have an Elder Scrolls Online mobile game in a similar way. You would call it something like Elder Scrolls Homestead. Like, I could imagine you could make a cell phone game where you play as a different as a Elder Scrolls character, and then it just in 3D took you from fight to fight to fight between different types of enemies, and then in between waves of fights you might go into a store and buy equipment, buy health packs and such. It doesn't even have to be an automated process or a tapper style game. It could be you have a top-down map of like Skyrim or Tamriel, and you get to choose where you're walking from that top-down map, and then that loads into a randomly generated cave that just has Draugr and other enemies appear, and then you fight them. They did Evil Within 2, which Evil Within 1 wasn't as much a game as it was just a collection of scary scenes, from best I could tell. And I guess maybe you could do something with Evil Within as a cell phone game. You could have done a Prey cell phone game tie-in too. That just having some other third-party companies make something along the lines of Fallout Shelter, because Fallout Shelter is not that good anyways. You could certainly have just done something as good as that, and just keep moving forward on down that.
For a show full of announcements, new gameplay footage, and all things PC gaming.
This is going to be an interesting stream here. I'm going to evaluate, since this is my first time covering E3, whether they have much new to say and whether they're tolerable. In the times I've seen Sean Day9 stream, he's not awful.
The personal computer. Well, it's not just a box or a station, right?
And maybe if he stays on script, he'll even be good.
And you don't just use your PC, you're its keeper. You're responsible for it.
I still can't buy into water cooling for normal people.
We turn the screws.
It seems
we clean
too
the fans,
dangerous.
We thread the cables. It's got your fingerprints on it, and that has a special kind of pride.
It shouldn't have your fingerprints on it. Oil will cause thermal variation and potentially even
communities,
shorts.
And our reflexes.
I'm down!
We write stories, we make mods because we get to decide what experience we want.
The ironic thing is,
God
any
bless you, modders.
super popular
PCs are
streamer
scaffolding for our imagination.
is probably
That's
not
what
building
PC
their own
means to us,
computer.
to build and to give back to your hobby as much as it
Interesting.
gives to you.
BioShock.
This is the PC Gaming Show 2017.
Powered by Intel, so everything's gonna be Intel, which, alright, fair enough. Video games always favor Intel anyways. Wow, he actually looks kind of good in the suit.
Ah, yes. You're doing woo. That's excellent. I'm your host, Sean Day9 Plot, and if you have never been to this show before, it's simple. We have a slew of incredible guests who are going to talk about all their upcoming games, one after the other. So
Alright, that
I'd like to
sounds
warmly
good.
welcome all of you for coming out to the beautiful Ace Hotel Theater in downtown Los Angeles. Twitch chat, it's a pleasure to have you here.
This is a consistent problem that even I am doing right now, is that he starts off by day 9, he gets so big, they eventually just move to their real name. But I mean, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is still doing the similar thing. Although I think now he's dropped The Rock.
Theater at Ace Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, California. Coming up, Intel explores the future of PC gaming. New announcements from Xbox. Jordan Weissman, the creator of MechWarrior, gives a first ever look at BattleTech's campaign. New footage for Middle-earth, Shadow of War. A new game from Play Entertainment.
New. Interesting.
New gameplay from Total War.
I recently just played a game from Clay Entertainment.
New announcements of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. An exciting reveal from Tripwire Interactive.
This is an interesting way to do a conference to just
Once again,
tease everything at the beginning. They didn't do that with any of the other streams.
Let's talk about our very first game. It is an expansion to the legendary and infamous turn-based strategy game, XCOM 2. Let's take a look.
An expansion to XCOM 2 doesn't particularly entertain me, so I'm going to start playing Hearthstone now. I'm trying to get my my European and Asian accounts completely unlocked, so that if anybody friends me on that, I can play them with at least the basic cards. I don't think I'm going to get it all done. Excuse me.
If only you knew the truth.
The weird thing with XCOM is it's a turn-based strategy game. Or at least this doesn't look like that, I know, but that's what it has been up to this point.
Too bad they hate each other.
And I think the story is probably cool if they could convert it into a more accessible and less difficult game. That would be interesting to me as a new player who hasn't played any of the previous games. Maybe that's what this is. Or maybe this is all just animated cutscenes.
That can't be good.
I suppose we should begin then.
Now the real war begins.
So no, that's gotta be DLC for XCOM 2. XCOM 2 is a turn-based game.
This is
very exciting. We finally get to talk about this, so yes, thank you for having me.
Well, then tell us what is
Now, none of the streams up to this point have actually sat down a person who created the game and has like an actual hand in it. As far as it felt, it's always been CEOs, head of marketing, people who just give these pre-written speeches and don't even sound that interested.
Well, let's go ahead and start talking about in there. Who are the Chosen?
The Chosen, right? You saw them, they starred in the trailer.
Let's see.
So they were designed to be the ultimate enemies of XCOM. They are almost champions of the alien army. And they have three very distinct personalities.
This is a little quiet. Let's see if we can adjust the audio.
Over the course of a whole game, they're going to fight each of those Chosen multiple times. And the Chosen, just like the player, they get stronger over the course of the game. They learn new skills, new abilities. They even gain new procedural strengths that the player's going to have to contend with.
So in a sense, it's not like a normal enemy where you might see a Chosen in one battle and a Chosen in the next. It will be the same Chosen again and again and again, getting new strengths.
That's right, that's right. And so you just
so it's a nemesis system. It's a hero system, it's a nemesis system.
Walk me through who the Chosen are and what these strengths and weaknesses might be.
Yeah,
so this may be the very beginning of games finally catching up with stealing the ideas of the nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor. It's surprising it's taken this long, honestly.
A natural expression of identity.
We're bringing back some familiar elements from earlier games, yes. And so, but combat-wise, she's a mix of stealth and close-quarters combat. She can vanish from sight, and she uses that to get in close on the soldiers. So, like the other Chosen, she's very powerful, and she has a sort of unique fighting style that the player hasn't seen before.
And we've talked about this new obstacle in the form of the Chosen. You know, mentioned the assassin. Who are the other two?
The problem here is what they're presenting is not what the game is. That they very cleverly are showing you single frame images of what are probably just cutscenes of when these nemesis Chosen show up, and that's it. They're not showing you that the most of the game is this top-down in movement-based strategy game with a hex grid. Unless I'm just totally wrong about XCOM. I don't think I am, though. They should come out with just an XCOM shooter. A strategy-based, maybe team-based, maybe online-only co-op shooter. Well, I wouldn't play it if it was online-only co-op, but that would be more in line with how the game plays. But frankly, I don't think they have the resources to make two games at once.
That they can then unleash in more devastating abilities.
So it's sort of like a mini.
It's kind of the problem with, in the old days, StarCraft. They were somewhat limited keeping StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 as real-time strategy games, and they were working on actually making the shooter in that series. And in the exact opposite direction, Halo is missing out on a smaller market with just making shooter games, so they came out with Halo Wars, which is a real-time strategy game.
I thought that everyone in the city died, but apparently they're alive and well. They're doing fine.
Yeah, as you can see, they've weathered the last 20 years really well. So, yeah, these are heavily mutated humans, and a single loss is not going to pose much of a challenge.
Sure.
But unfortunately, you don't fight single loss. They move in large swarms, and so when you go into the city,
so they're introducing zombies. So they've stolen the concept of the nemesis system and the general concept of zombies. It'd be interesting, who would I attribute the concept of zombies from? To say if somebody was stealing the concept of zombies, which is so ubiquitous. I'd imagine I'd have to say they're stealing it from Night of the Living Dead, the movie, because before that point, zombies weren't really that popular. You're going before that point to something closer to Frankenstein and Reanimated Dead, which I suppose Frankenstein is a predecessor to zombies, and if you go further back, then you talk about Jesus from Christianity as a resurrected human creature, human body, and then Lazarus before Jesus. And then there's several older dead religions that had resurrected people.
It's at Jake Solomon. At Jake Solomon. Thanks so much.
So the
the
idea is pretty ubiquitous.
Now, as some of you may know, I am not the only host of this event. Joining me to do all sorts of announcement goodies is a woman named Sonia Reed, but you may know her a little better as OMG It's Firefox. How's it going, Sonia?
Hi. Thank you, Sean. And
I'm wondering how many people have the tag, the stage name of OMG something.
Games. And you know what? I'm not going to wait. We're just going to get right into it. I want to show you a game called Ooblets. It is going to be coming out early next year, and it is from an impressive studio of only 2 people called Glumberlands. So it's kind of a mashup between Harvest Moon meets Pokemon meets Adventure Time, but even cuter, if you can imagine that. So I'm going to show you how to grow and customize your Ooblets in this exclusive trailer.
So, while a lot of it hasn't been announced yet, we're going to probably see 3 to maybe 4 or 5 games released in a very short time like this, because I know there's also a Harvest Moon game coming to PC. Stardew Valley will probably get a big update. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2, maybe 3 other ones that haven't even just been announced yet. This is a slightly faster reaction to Stardew Valley being successful. This looks like a game that might be kid-friendly, which I'm always happy to see a kid-friendly game out there, because they don't really even care. If you go back and look at all the previous streams, like, none of them are kid-friendly. In fact, probably none of them are even teen-friendly. That they're all potentially just rated M for mature. Let's see, which game is this? Did they announce this game before they start showing the stream? This isn't still Ooblets. Battletech turn-based mech combat returns to the PC.
That Ooblets trailer makes me oh so happy, and the previous one you just got the chance to see is the old school tabletop game Battletech distilled into its purest form.
I would be very interested to hear if anybody plays Battletech anymore.
Jordan, Wiseman, and Mitch Gettleman, welcome, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you up on stage.
Bringing those games and those style of games to PC certainly is going to be helpful for people who still play that game, but I don't know if it's going to bring in new
Battletech is a modern turn-based tactical game.
New audiences.
There's going to be 3 modes to play. A single-player skirmish, a multiplayer skirmish, and then our open-ended mercenary campaign.
Well, I want to hop straight into some of that single-player content by taking a journey to the art. I understand that, there's all sorts of combat goodies that we're going to see in a moment. But the Argo is in between missions. Walk us through what we're seeing.
Right, so the Argo is broken down a hulk of a...
In a weird way, this seems very much like XCOM.
You can take it all over the space, going from star system to star system.
I think you probably lose a little bit by playing a game like BattleTech in a PC version, because then you're not assembling, painting, and feeling and looking at the little statues that you would be looking at if you were playing it actual on tabletop. And it seems like that is a big part of the interest in those games.
Jump in and help her gain her throne. Of course, it's been plunged. The whole space has been plunged into a civil war.
And these, of course, are the tools of negotiation and diplomacy called battle mechs. And here in the mech bay, which is one of the key components of the Argo,
one of the things you would want to see is a ton of customization and the ability to change colors and make mechs look really, really different. There was a game that they recently came out with. They had a side game where you painted your little figurines, and the side game where you painted the figurines was reviewed really well, and the actual game where you used the figurines didn't really review that well at all. So I could see maybe next year a few more games that are based off tabletop games that heavily focus on painting the figurines. And
You can still play the open-ended campaign, traveling around doing whatever you want. And there are the battle mechs.
Yes, now we're going to get a chance to look at the combat itself.
I suppose if you've played StarCraft, if you've played Warcraft, which it would be nice if they re-released the original Warcrafts, and I'm not talking World of Warcraft, the MMO, I'm talking the original DOS-based Warcraft, Orcs vs. Humans. I suppose if you played all the other real-time strategies, this would be a nice new one.
Instead, they have 11 different armor locations. There's internal structure. They have the internal components, these critical slots filled with all sorts of important pieces.
Normally, you'd see a game like this, it would be one player inside the machine with hundreds of switches that you have to actually control, and a first-person perspective trying to play the game. And they've gotten away from that, at least. When you're talking mechs, though, you're really talking a Japanese market that I don't understand. So they may very well be trying to sell an American game here to a Japanese market that loves mechs. You would think with the maker culture being slightly popular right now, and all of that, and Arduino, and build it yourself, do it yourself. You think that might push more people into it, the BattleBots coming back, but it doesn't quite cross over into mechs.
Just went into beta. Where can the people here go to sign up to play?
I think a lot of times too, if you're talking do it yourself, the last thing a do it yourselfer wants to do is have a simulation.
Now I'd like to state
They
again.
want to do it in real life.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. Jordan, Mitch, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. Now, our very next game you may recognize
Now,
from
Day 9 is a little too slick and a little too emotive in his presentation, but he's nice and respectful. He's not trying to be funny. That was a decent pre-written interview.
For Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord.
Here we go, Mountain Blade 2. I see this on sale or mentioned a lot on Steam. It always strikes me as a game with a very small audience or possibly no audience at all. Like the huge mistake of the game For Honor, which Ubisoft spent a lot of advertising on and has pretty much completely failed. This just strikes me as one of these games that has sword combat, and as soon as you see sword combat, it never is going to work. See, the only way I'd want to play a game of sword combat is if it was a very story-oriented, every interaction pre-programmed style of game, not this general running around with some AI troops supposedly following his instructions.
Always a pleasure to have Mountain Blade 2 here at the PC Gaming Show. Now, I know we've just gotten started.
Mount and Blade. Sounds like Mountain Blade, which might be a more interesting game. There's a blade in the mountain, like Excalibur, his sword in the stone.
Some of you on Twitter really need to pull it together. But either way, we'd be thrilled to hear your thoughts. Coming up next week,
This is
sequel.
odd. The PC Gaming Show is being hosted by Day 9, but it's from PC Gamer, which has a podcast, and their editors and the people that work at PC Gamer, not Day 9, who doesn't work there as far as I know, they do a podcast every week, and they could have been up here, but they choose not to. It's kind of like they have the name and they just hire out for everything else.
There's 4 new factions, is there?
Yep, 4 new factions, yep.
I thought there were 2 big ones we were talking about.
No, well, we're focusing on the High Elves.
How written is that?
But there's the Dark Elves as well, and another 4th race, which we have yet to
Begins. Bring it on! Well, Al, talk to us a little bit about the High Elves and the Lizard.
Right, so they're both essentially...
Is this still Mountain Blade? No, this is a different game. They move too fast. They need a breath in between the presentations. All they really needed to do is have Day 9 or someone else say, "Everybody put your hands together, please welcome creator of this game to the stage," and then just allow the people to clap. Just, but it seems like what they're doing is, in the 1 second that one person gets out of the chair, they move the next person into the chair. They had the audio muted. This looks too much like Mountain Blade to be right back to back. So I'm seeing a cutscene right now of this game I've never seen before. And I'm wondering, how does this game actually play? Seems like it's got dinosaurs and I can't be upset of dragons and dinosaurs being in a game. I mean, they play well. Anytime you add a big creature, though, you run into problems. Total War Warhammer? That's Total War Warhammer? I wouldn't have guessed that.
September 28th, Al. That is the first time I think we've got a chance to see that official release date.
Yep, we're announcing that today. We're officially out on the 28th of September, so we're available for pre-orders now. We've got
So it feels like different people wrote the interviews and gave it to Day 9, and Day 9 just went, okay, I'll say whatever you want me to say.
We're out this year.
Which is, I guess, sometimes what you want in a presenter is just can you effectively say what we want you to say without breaking into a tirade or veering off subject. I probably wouldn't be very good at that.
Immense diversity and all the crazy stuff that's going on in their army, because they're essentially an army of ancient spacefaring dinosaurs, and they, you know, small dinosaurs that ride big dinosaurs with Aztec space lasers, and it's, you know, it's playing with Warhammer.
The dinosaurs all the way down.
All the way up and all the way down. Yeah. So, and Warhammer lets, you know, gives us these toys to play with, to make a game with. It's awesome.
Well, backing out of the battle, I know that the campaign map in Total War Warhammer was a big hit. What's going on in Warhammer 2?
So in Warhammer 2, we've got a ton of new campaign features which lead you to kind of explore.
I have a feeling that this game is a top-down RTS.
A sort of overarching narrative, so all the races are intentional.
So that's why you would focus on different troop types. Having no knowledge of Total Warhammer and what it is, I kind of feel left.
Well, I understand you have a presence here at E3, not just in this show, but also on the floor. What are players going to get the chance to play?
How would I put this? I feel like there's no story there because I don't know the story, and I don't think that's a fair thing to really say. But
so if you get a chance, go play. It's really good fun.
Well, Al, I want to thank you for coming out.
That's how I would describe it.
Once again, feel free to check it out on the E3 floor, or if you're at home, there'll be tons of footage and updates about the Battle of the Fallen Gates. Now, our next game is in the card game genre.
See, without even taking a break,
I wind up playing
he just jumps to the next part.
Here to talk about the upcoming expansion for Shadowverse is Kriparian.
Hey guys, how's it going? Praying here. Today I want to talk to you guys about
I know this streamer,
Shadowverse is one
but notice they don't bother to actually say he's a streamer. They just call him by his name.
Every time I log into Shadowverse, I have an amazing experience. I can play whatever deck type, whatever deck, whatever cards.
The question you should ask yourself, and I'm asking myself, is Kriparian given free cards, free gold, or in some other way sponsored or endorsed by Shadowverse? Because he probably is. Or at least there's a chance of it. I've looked at Shadowverse, it's never really caught my attention as far as one thing.
I have a book for thee, like no other. Each page a window to a long-lost land, where fairy tales dovetail with myths.
The problem with collectible card games is they have to be prettier and more diverse with more cards than I would say Hearthstone, which has the funding of Activision Blizzard behind it. And while this looks good, when I've looked at the actual game, it seems like there's not enough cards. Maybe with this new expansion.
Life's fruit, for in this land, courage is key. With bated breath,
It is also potentially too late to get into Shadowverse for a lot of people because
the hand you choose defines your fate.
Because it may be too. There may have been too many cards and too many expansions. A good example of that is Kriparian himself has said he spends $1,500 per expansion on card packs in Hearthstone, and he still can't get a complete collection in the gold version. He recently converted all his extra cards into dust to make new cards using dust, and he'd been saving that up for like 3 years, and it still didn't quite give him enough to get everything in the gold, and he had over 600,000 dust, which is a ridiculous amount.
And I'm very excited to talk to the PC gaming community about
that being said, Fable Fortunes might be one you want to try, because if Microsoft is really going to put some effort behind it and some money behind it, although I don't know if they are. Elder Scrolls Legends may be one you want to try, because there's compared to World of Warcraft's backstory, I would assume that Elder Scrolls has potentially equal, if not even better. This is strange. They've changed the format. This guy's standing up and talking and emoting with his hands. This guy's been professionally trained to do a presentation. They move their hands and move around to add action to what is effectively non-action, just talking.
Tech, non-tech, millions of people getting together, inspiring each other to immerse themselves in this environment. Now, it starts at Intel with amazing hardware technology. We've talked about the launch we had 2 weeks ago of our X Series platforms. Now, you gaming enthusiasts will love the Core i7X overclocking capability. It's an amazing system. And you megatasters who want to game, create, stream,
I think they're going to be talking about
i9 Extreme
the i9.
An amazing
so
system for this environment.
I don't want to get completely into it because I can't even really explain it, but the i9 for the X299 series of motherboards and the 2066 connector that you would put the i9 chip into doesn't really have a clear path and plan. So there's just some things that are missing from the i9. It was kind of feels like it's a rushed product. And I would recommend people search the Linus Tech Tips video talking about the i9 and how it's been implemented with these standards that aren't really being treated as good standards.
Of some of the titles we work with. I'm sure you recognize a lot of
So,
titles. These are just a few examples.
I wouldn't recommend getting an i9. I think you probably could get an i7 or of a previous generation and save yourself some money, or wait till the next generation of i9 comes out. Most games are not CPU bottlenecked on a PC. Maybe in a small sense, the Xbox X, or what was called Project Scorpio, might be slightly CPU bottlenecked, but it doesn't even matter that much, because if that is a bottleneck, it's the same bottleneck you're going to have with the Xbox One, the original, or the Xbox S, or the PlayStation 4. So until all the consoles decide that they're all going to move up to more powerful CPUs, the programmers for console versions of games are going to live within that bottleneck.
Hundreds of raids completions. I built my community around Destiny on Twitch, and I'm a co-host for one of the founding co-hosts of Destiny Community Podcast, one of the biggest podcasts specifically for Destiny. So I know a lot about Destiny, and I play a lot of it.
That's great. So when you play it, have you experienced it on PC?
I have, yeah. I got to play it at the event. I got to say, the PC experience is amazing. as somebody who's played a lot of hours in Destiny, everybody knows how is it going to transfer, how's the experience going to go from console to PC, are they going to actually be able to deliver, and I can
So,
100%
Destiny never really caught my attention. I think a lot of people tried it, and then a lot of people eventually just burned out of it. It seems like you have to have a really skilled team to go through the raids. It seems like you have to have a lot of time to go through the raids.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely. It's going to be on the on the show floor. The other thing too is they've got tons of PC support as well that's being added to it. So 4K is going to be beautiful. It's got 21
it's just a lot of stuff.
Uncapped frame rates. I mean, for me personally, I'm going to be looking at pushing 144 FPS because.
I don't think Destiny 2 is going to be a major improvement in that. I think it'll just have a few more areas where they'll have a plethora of raids in each area, and it's just this grindy game, kind of like, in my opinion, probably a lesser Borderlands 2. In a lot of
it'll be able to take advantage of all those cores. That is
and since Destiny is programmed on their own new engine, I wouldn't be surprised if it was very demanding on the CPU. It seemed to be demanding on everybody, even the creators of the game. They said there was rumors out there, and I'm not sure if it's actually true, that if they wanted to move even one rock in a landscape, they had to wait overnight to have the entire game re-render. And
but also, it's about the broad set of developers, the independent developers.
So, no live editing of anything.
Everybody's developing and creating content on the PC to create more and more opportunity to participate in.
So you can pretty much put up a picture of hundreds of people that make games on PC.
Sponsoring this event. We have real luminaries judging, like Tim Schafer. Yes, Tim Schafer is going to be judging this contest. The winner will be announced at PAX West in Seattle in September. I encourage you to participate. It's a great event. It's a great opportunity for independent developers to get involved and participate. And why do we care? As a software
what was the contest? Actually, were they doing a game jam or a PC build or something else?
We don't know where it's going to come from. So we want lots of people participating on our platform so that the next big thing is built on top of it. And you, everybody here, all you gamers, you to participate as well. I'm certain as you're participating in a game, you've thought of something new, unique that you like to bring. In reality, this is your opportunity to be one of those developers as well, or at least influence one of those developers. And create that amazing immersive.
Had to correct himself there.
Gamer, content creator, or even esports.
Immersive experiences.
Now, speaking of esports, we had two exciting announcements today in the esports arena. Pun intended. With ESL. The first being, we have a landmark deal with ESL.
I think esports has only been mentioned once before in the other streams.
Everybody in the gaming community, because the latest technology we use for the events, the studios, the back-end operations.
I see a lot about ESL, but I don't know anything about it.
You'll have the latest technology at those events. Now, the thing I love about sports, and I'm a traditional sports admirer as well, is they have this tradition around these things called a Grand Slam. Tennis, golf, rugby. They have a Grand Slam. And there's no reason we can't have that.
I think a lot of people are trying to make esports a thing, and it's going to be a thing certainly, but probably not as big as they think or they hope.
Will be the Grand Slam winner. They'll collect their traditional prize, but in addition, they'll get another $1 million bonus for being the Grand Slam winner. $1 million. All right.
The problem with sports, esports or just regular sports, is it is this hope
you guys see that
black
analogy?
hole,
So great.
I suppose
They're
would be
creating the multiplayer
the
VR
right way to
experience and bringing
explain it.
to life.
So all kinds of people would love to be a professional in whatever sport they love to watch, whether it's esports and video games or if it's football, basketball, or such. But the number of people that actually go on to be professional is actually incredibly small. And the number of people that actually stay in professional leagues of sports is even smaller. People that stay in it long enough to even make a decent amount of money. And the money they do make, they don't know how to save, so most people in sports are bankrupt 5 years out of the 5 years they played in the sport anyways. So the only people that are over their lifetime being successful for being good at a sport is really the people that are the managers, the CEOs, the team owners, the advertisers, the people that are selling likenesses and selling concessions and collectibles.
Just by participating in this challenge. And don't dismay.
And that's all esports really seems like it is to me too, is that so many people that are moderately good at games are going to become overly hopeful and hyped at thinking maybe they could be an esports player when they probably couldn't. And a lot of people are going to end up not playing the game they love as much because they're watching other people play the game. That seems to be a consistent thing. When people start loving football, they watch it on TV a lot more than they go out and just play it themselves. And it turns what was once an active play into a passive play. Like, I'm not horribly against esports, but I feel like it's for the best of the best. It's kind of like the Olympics too, and when you think about all the people who are in gymnastics and all the people that all of those people that end up in the Olympics, it's a ridiculously small number, and the Olympics only happen once every couple of years.
Thank you, Sean. So, as a Firefox, this is a game that pulls on my heartstrings and does not let go. And I just want to hear more about it. And luckily, I've got the perfect person to talk to today. I am joined by Felix Kramer, the
pre-written dialogue
known as Secret Legend, but you've got some special.
I guess I prefer a bad presentation off the cuff than a pre-written dialogue that feels canned.
And we're announcing that we're pairing with publisher Finji, who you may know from their incredible work on Night in the Woods and Overland. So exciting, congratulations. So I'll tell you, it wasn't just the fox that sold me on this game. I love the beautiful, charming graphics, and honestly,
so they're talking about a game with a fox, and they're showing us nothing. This is rhyme. No, this isn't rhyme. Okay, it looks slightly interesting. Is this from Clay? I don't think it is. Well, from that 5-second fight there, I suspect this game might look cutesy and then turn out to be incredibly difficult. It's called Tunic. Yeah, that looks very much like they've cut their mic.
Thank you, Sonya. Now, our next title that we'll be talking about is honestly a huge surprise hit, having just surpassed 3 million sales. You may recognize it.
What was that one called? Titan Souls, yeah. That looks like a longer version, more open world, more more to do Titan Souls game.
Yeah.
I don't know why we can't just have some kid-friendly games that actually look kid-friendly. Instead of having incredibly hard games that look kid-friendly.
Thank you for the experiences, both of the joy of winning and the, well, I guess the joy of a bullet flying through my head out of nowhere.
I said it in a previous stream, I'll say it again. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds strikes me as something that's really popular amongst video game critics and reviewers because they have probably the time and the number of people to work in teams to play the game, but I'm not sure it really is translated to just regular people.
So yeah, no, but our current focus is really just get the game competitive and stable.
So suddenly fences are no longer the most impossible object in the game. You can climb over them.
Yeah. So our content programmer Marek, he's done a really great job getting this system to be dynamic. So it doesn't matter what object you're in front of.
I feel like this game in particular is gonna need some story. It's going to need it's gonna need some different modes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it needs other players. So as soon as the large player base disappears, this game is not playable anymore. And that's a consistent problem with multiplayer only games, which I assume that's what this is. I don't think there's a single player version. It looks nice. It looks like a new polished version of something that a lot of other people would put on Steam and try to just get green light with asset flips. Here it seems like they really, while these still may be the use of pre-made assets, it seems like they made it look good, and making a good-looking version of an average game can take you a lot further than making a bad-looking version of an average game. There's also nothing incredibly difficult or unique about this game, so in 2 years you may see that a lot of games just have this mode in it. It wouldn't be unbelievable if, like Call of Duty, some of the AAA title, Battlefield, all the shooters from AAA makers decided to just have a mode that directly steals from this concept, and then if you can make a mode like that in something like Call of Duty, then you can make that mode happen in all of the Call of Duty maps, which will probably be more maps than this game. There's almost a constant flow of PC games that are popular to stream and coming on. Five Nights at Freddy's, let's see, Rust, Ark Survival Evolved, Unturned, and they always feel like they're just on the edge of being falling out of popularity, and as soon as they people decide to stop streaming them, their player base will disappear completely.
great. I'm sure players will completely stop blaming anything on the game at that point.
Right.
They will accept responsibility for those losses then. Well, player unknown himself, Brennan, thank you so much for coming out to talk about it.
Thank you, everyone.
I think it's really strange that they're having this stream so early in the morning.
The next game is
Thank you, Sean. Sean is pretty cool, right? But you know what's a little bit cooler? A free PC. We're going to be giving away a badass PC from our friends at Intel. This bad boy is going to be rocking an i7 7700K processor. There's a lot of 7s in there, and it's going to be running a NVIDIA GTX 1080. It is worth more than $2,500, so if you want a chance to win, head over to PCGamingShow.com/giveaway and put in your information. Good luck. And back
I'll
to you,
go.
Sean.
You are invited to the greatest party
Go
on
with that.
Earth.
And I am pretty cool,
Join
right?
me in Karazhan for music.
Jesus,
magic,
thanks, audience.
and just a bit of mayhem.
I'll go try to win the PC. My PC's
realize you could pinpoint
not
the
much
exact
worse
time and
than
day
what
the career
they're
died.
giving away, but
We still have all sorts of great stuff in store for you. Our
I'd
next
still
guest you
take
may
it.
recognize from PC
So
Gaming
I'm going
Show
through the
Chat.
European setup
Triple
here,
Interactive is back
and I
with
want
full
to point
games
out that
all
I
about.
just
I'm
unlocked
joined
all
by
the
creative
characters in practice
Bill
mode,
Monk. Pleasure to have you, Bill.
and
Thanks for having me, man. Good to have
they
you
want
back.
me to reset
As
now
always.
to the One Night in
You guys have been
Karazhan
busy. Congratulations on
and the
recent
year
release
of the
Yeah, absolutely.
year of the mammoth. Is that what we're on? So you have to unlock every single character in practice mode, which means it takes you probably 3 or 4 days before you can actually get into the game. And just now I'm into Wild.
That's amazing. I mean, I know so many people know you
And they're
too, but
explaining what Wild is.
so much to talk about.
And up until this point, you just
How's that been going?
couldn't
It's been going awesome, you know,
do anything.
Incursion's one of the second phase, game or second wave games come out for VR, and we've learned a lot.
So,
and we're really excited. We think
so many of these cutscenes were added later. So now I can make wild decks.
Single player and
Now, hopefully, I can access wild cards.
Big thing I know you wanted to talk about
But
today.
there's still a considerable amount of things you can't get
There's a little
to.
bit of content coming down the line for your big
And
game,
One Night in
Killing Floor
Karazhan
2. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
is
absolutely. So, you know, when we released
also an issue. Apparently, I won't be able to do Tavern Brawl though until 2 days. So you easily could take a week trying to set up Hearthstone.
Summer Sideshow coming out this year.
Well, I'm eager to show everyone this footage. This trailer
So,
makes me laugh
One
every
Night
time.
in
Let's go ahead and
Karazhan,
take a look.
ideally
Killing Floor
on the European Nation account, I want to unlock, but I have to do this prologue first. So that's alright. Well, they've certainly gone a different direction in this trailer.
Colorful hats, and dozens of other items. Carnival rewards are only available for a limited time. See the adorable pinhead and marvel at the mighty strong.
So yeah, Hearthstone's initial setup is awful. It's really, really bad. If you just want to play, just give me some basic cards and let me play my friends. It's just it takes forever. Honestly, I would just say everybody, even if you are in the European region or an Asian region, I'd just say play Hearthstone on the American region anyways.
Is he actually on fire? Why is that person on fire? New achievements and triumph, a new HG-12 shotgun and tactical lever-action rifle. Why do you need a shotgun at a carnival? I don't care, it's unlockable. Why does the carnival cleanup crew need hazmat suits? No, I'm done. This is a horror show. I'm getting out of here. If you can hear this, run!
Warning. News and outbreaks and variants and behavior detected. Be alert for new challenges, modes, and threats in the weekly outbreaks.
I I mean, I know it's a horror theme, but there's some great humor in
So
this.
Kill Floor 2, I know Kill Floor has been slightly popular.
You got the monkey that bangs the
Just a
cymbal,
lot of
chainsaw
shooting
cells.
things.
Midgets on stilts, bearded ladies, we got it all.
Tell me a little bit about what is the gameplay? What's some of the stuff that people can experience in the summer sideshow?
So it's a limited time event. It's only going to last for 1 month. So all this crazy stuff we're seeing here, it's 1 month. And there's over 50 cosmetic items that people can gain from playing it totally free. All the Zeds have been replaced. All the voices have been redone. We also have mini games that are thrown out throughout the
I saw the carnival games right at the start of the trailer.
We've also got new weapons that we're introducing. And we also have this other mode that we're really excited about. It's check on the
Seems like the video messed up there.
So each week, new gameplay mode comes out. We have one Cranium Cracker, and that's a headshot melee mode. And
So
then
no damage unless it's headshot.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have another one called Tiny Terror, where every time you shoot a Zed, they actually shoot. Become like real midget Zeds, which is really crazy. And whenever the players get hit, they shrink too.
Really?
So I mean, that's just 2 of them. We have 8 total, and it's over 2 months worth of content. And if they're really hard to work with, you get really cool like precious items and stuff like that.
So of course, I have to ask, when can people play it?
Actually, play it tomorrow. It's free on Steam all week.
Easy.
No. So you got no excuse not to try it.
Seems like they're just showing us stills.
Oh well, they can play it here too.
Oh boy, that was a setup on my part. Yeah, whereabouts is it at on the E3 floor?
That's a PC Gamer show.
Oh, that's right. It's a PC gaming show booth. We have our own booth. Oh, I'm glad that 2 of you are very excited to hear that.
The first of many, right? This is going to become a tradition.
Indubitably.
Yeah.
I'm not in charge of the budget, so yes, of course. Well, I want to say, Bill, thank you so much for coming out. Congrats on all the projects and the progress. Bill Monk from Tripwire Interactive.
Let's see. Do I want to do this?
Let's head back up to the mezzanine for a little bit of social with Sonya.
This year's PC Gaming Show is being broadcast on more platforms than ever before. We are on Steam, we are on Facebook and Twitch and Mixer. We are all over the place. This is awesome. And guys, if you're on Mixer, you gotta sweet talk the mods a little bit. Be kind of nice to them because they're gonna be giving away games throughout the entire show. Unfortunately, no free games for day 9. Sorry. Back to you, Sean.
Wouldn't be surprised if Day 9 has way too many games.
Now, if any of you got the chance to see the conferences leading up to today, there's a lot of exciting stuff.
I would make the argument that Day 9 probably succeeds as a streamer because he just looks good and speaks and stays out of trouble.
Is the creative director of Forza Motorsport from Turn 10, Bill Giese. Come here, Bill.
This. And
yeah, Bill, congratulations.
Thank you.
This.
The announcement yesterday must have been really exciting for you guys.
Huge announcement. We revealed a car to the world.
Not an in-game car, a
No,
car.
an actual car. That's normally saved for car shows like Geneva and Paris.
Yeah.
We revealed a car here at E3, Porsche 911 GT2 RS to the world yesterday.
I chance to play the previous Forza Motorsport games, and they always struck me as a racing game not focused on being cartoonish or strapping guns to the
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, revealing an actual car. I don't think it's gonna. It's really gonna help.
To really recreate that feeling of driving a car. Over 700 cars. Every single one of them, they're gonna rattle and shake. It's gonna scare the crap out of you.
What are some of the things that you've done to bring that experience to PC?
Well, going to PC has been awesome. Not only will it have mouse and keyboard support, but with multi-USB, we have every fan requested wheel on the market. And it's been exciting for the team.
That's a lot of USB
It's a lot
devices.
of wheels, let me tell you. And we've been testing that. Last week alone, we brought in any USB device we had, and we played on a Guitar Hero guitar and a DDR pad. Now you're not going to
So Forza allows any USB device to connect to it. So if you have a driving wheel that uses USB and for some reason didn't work before, they're saying that they've worked really hard to get it to work. The real issue here is that last time I had any kind of gaming controller like a steering wheel or a joystick, they were using joystick connectors, gamepad connectors that just aren't in PC before things that existed before USB.
Bring the vomit bag and come on and check it out. It looks awesome.
Well, awesome, Bill. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I'm incredibly excited. Of all the
this.
stuff Microsoft's doing, you just got the chance to look at Forza, and now coming onto the stage, I am replacing Bill with Ted Timmons, the PC design lead at Rare, to talk about Sea of Thieves. Come on out, Ted.
You can see.
Hey, Sean. Ted Timmons.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. It's a pleasure. So, Ted, talk to me a little bit about what is Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, so we feel like we've made the pirate game we've always wanted with Sega around the open crewmates. Basically, it's Pirates of the Caribbean. It's good.
What are some of the things that you're showcasing here at E3?
Yeah, so for anyone who didn't see the briefing yesterday, we showed off great new features like Rydo map storms and firing yourself out of cannons.
A common pirate pastime.
Yeah, pretty known.
Now, I had to ask the same question to Forza.
Sea of Thieves still doesn't really entertain me. It's like it doesn't interest me. Is the first thing I should say.
My personal favorite.
Your favorite resolution?
Yeah.
One of the top 3 favorite resolutions.
Yeah, through there with 32:9 and 16:9 as well, probably.
I just don't. It just doesn't catch my attention. It's weird. Like, when I want to play a pirate game, the thing is I want to play a pirate game that's around a pirate stories, not a pirate game that's around running around and shooting and sword play. It's back to the sword play, and it doesn't feel like there's a actual story in Sea of Thieves. It feels like it's just a random thing. So I want to point out now I've gone through the prologue of One Night in Extremis, specifically on the European account, which is the new account. So I can click here and buy this for 700 gold, which I don't have. So I'm going to have to figure out a way over time to earn 700 gold and get that first section of this adventure before this adventure One Night in Kazan becomes banned. And as for other cards, we have Whisper of the Old Gods and several other cards, but if we wanted to go into crafting mode, we should now be able to make some of the wild sets. So all of these cards on the European account would have to see. Can I just search wild? No. All the cards in Goblins versus Gnomes, all of the ones in Leagues of Explorers, all of the ones in Grand Tournament, all of the ones in Black Rock Mountain, all the ones in Extremis, and all of these Hall of Fame cards. I suppose there might be a way to type in maybe is wild and see if this works. Maybe it's colon wild. I bet there's a tag in the search somewhere.
Now, in terms of this world, this must give a kind of sense of existential crisis to all the inhabitants.
No, this is just going to be things that have wild in the name.
What is it like to be a person
So, you know, in a world where
space wild?
Yeah. The only thing you can really do is to consume endlessly, right? So
there's probably a tag, but I don't know what it is. So all of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 expansions versus 1, 2, 3, 4 expansions that aren't banned, excluding basic cards and classic cards. So you're never going to have, as a new player, a complete collection, a complete set. And I still have some stuff to do here. I need to do 100 damage to enemy heroes, but since I haven't started, I guess it would make more sense to trade and see if I could get maybe a different quest for today. And I still need to get somebody up to level 10, and Hunter will do that in one more game. And I still have to do this on the Asian account too, and so there's still a lot of work to do. And each of the characters now it's telling me, while basic decks are allowed in standard, building a new deck might be more successful. Not right now, it wouldn't, because that would require you to have more cards, and I just don't have any, because it's a new account. It's so ridiculous that my cards from my America's account doesn't just transfer over. It's incredibly greedy for the rare few number of people that would actually want to play on the different accounts, so mostly just streamers. This game, still I'm not sure what it is. I've seen it described, and I guess from press packets, it was described as a platforming adventure game.
Remember, like 2 days later, they'll be angry. That's fast. That was add a huge amount of playability, since the world is just changing based on
we're taking a lot of pleasure to hide a lot of stuff in the city, and we hope the community will have fun to figure and get that out collectively. So.
Well, again, I love the art style. I love these story-driven adventure games.
Of course, the last night's not showing too much so far, so it may turn out to be good, it may not be.
Now, this next game surprised me. I'm sure it will surprise you, because
they're moving fast and furious, but that still makes this presentation better than 2 other presentations done by more professional companies. Just showing trailers, showing games.
It was the mother of all storms. But somehow I just knew everything was going to be...
And here we have another pirate game.
Being stranded on a desert island is a lot of fun.
It looks a little too polygonal, too much like an attempt to be halfway 3D and halfway Minecraft.
And you learn how to craft.
And that's exactly what this is. It's a stranded on the island with a 3D polygonal
But that's just the beginning, because here you can do anything.
So, in their initial release, they're talking, you start on an island and then you eventually work your way up to, well, cars. Like, there clearly is going to have to be a jump from...
Islands. Explore your creativity.
Islands?
Islands.com.
Is that I with the letter I, or is that Y?
Here to join me to talk about Islands is the creative director.
Way too ambitious.
Welcome, Alice.
Way too ambitious.
Thanks for joining us today.
Like, there was a Lego game
So Islands is a sandbox game about
that was supposed to be that ambitious and didn't
you
succeed.
can create your own game,
Really.
your own adventure,
And they eventually just kind of gave up on it.
video. Actually, Islands stands for your lands, lands that you create where you make the rules.
And it's almost like a sandbox game, not where you're necessarily building a structure, but you're building an experience. Yes, exactly. Job's done. And I have to ask, given the fact
So
that the style of it contrasts
that written statement he just said, it's you're not necessarily building a structure, you're building the experience, which is to say these boats, those cars, a lot of the elements that you're seeing here aren't really built by the players. They're going to be built by the game creators, and when that support stops happening and you stop getting new things, you're left with a less than fully featured set of construction tools for landscape and buildings, and that's going to be it.
Oh, really? I mean, I've assumed that it was just outside like all other editors.
No, we would like players to be able to prototype their creations really quickly.
Yeah.
And so in the editor, the players can obviously create something new, but they can
So this is, you have to go into the editor to create buildings and do any real creation. You have just a small mining ability actually in the game.
That is fantastic. I mean, tell me a little bit about what it is that we're seeing right here on screen.
Well, this is just some random multiplayer game. There are two guys. Initially there were three. I think one just like fell down the bridge. They are trying to get some kind of treasure, and yeah, they are setting the explosives.
I mean, I want to ask about, I know you guys are here at E3.
Like, when you have TT Games, the makers of the Lego games, try to do something very similar to this, and they give up after about 2 years of being in early access and just put it out for sale, kind of half finished. There's, I can't believe this is going to work. I don't know why people even try to do this these days. Like, Minecraft is so established that I don't think it's going to be unseated ever. In a similar way that World of Warcraft is so established, I don't think you're going to get another MMO that unseats it.
I hope you're as excited as I am to come up with some total nonsense when I sit down to play. Our next world exclusive is going to be up in the mezzanine with Saga.
A world exclusive. Was that a world exclusive of an early access Minecraft clone?
World exclusive reveal from developers Clay. You might recognize their name from.
So I recently played a Clay game, not Don't Starve. The game I played was called Shank, which honestly is not a very good game. But it's a much older game. It's one of their very early creations. They seem to be more interested in animating than making an actual game in Shank, and that may still be the case. When looking from that perspective, I'm seeing a lot of cutscenes and animations here that probably play all throughout the gameplay sections. And the real gameplay is just this faraway camera top-down section. But what's the interaction mechanic? Oh, it's this. So it goes to a fight screen. So be prepared to see a team-based turn fighting, it seems. A lot more than what you just saw in Griftlands. And maybe you do have some communication and interaction through talk.
I love Clay games and can't wait the chance to try Griftlands.
Honestly, I don't know how you can really love Clay games. You can kind of love 1 or 2 of their games, but they've made about 8 of them, and they're all varied in some ways and very similar in other ways. I imagine maybe in 10 years Clay might be a really big video game company, but right now they're not going to be, unless they get bought out or they buy a bunch of other companies.
Where you play a cybernetic AI on a mining station in the rings of Saturn, and basically in the game you're allowed to move in zero G freely. You can interact with everything inside the environment, and also you can see that you have an entity you can interact with. You can use your hands basically to go everywhere you need to go.
This was the thing that was so amazing for me. You stand still, and then you use your arms to grab onto objects in the environment.
Okay, I've seen people play this on streams, and they tried it, and then for like a week it was popular, and then people decided to stop playing it. Again, this looks like a VR game, so very few actual people that don't have VR sets aren't going to be able to afford playing it in the VR experience. I think you can play this one without VR.
Actually, when we wrote the story for it, we actually had an actor in mind, somebody that.
And it's kind of Minecraft based too, because you're trying to build and repair your ship. I think. I know you're disassembling other ships.
How does this game work? Basically, it's a futuristic VR sport where you play, 10 people play in 2 different teams to get a disc inside each other's goals.
Now, you might be a little bit confused as to how exactly that works, but don't worry. We're going to take an even closer look at what the gameplay is like.
What, is he talking about a different game now?
In zero gravity,
they've either changed to a different game or they've added a crazy different game inside of a game.
Passes go farther. Strikes hit harder. Stakes get higher. And victory tastes sweeter. This is Zero G.
We've seen
in the Echo Arena
several games around this general concept, but it is kind of new for it to see it in zero gravity.
Jack, cut the panel.
It is.
We are up here with
It's
Echo
either
Arena
two completely
in
different
action,
games
and
they're
some of the
advertising
Red
at
Dawn
the same
developers
time,
are
or
playing against each other.
or
So,
just
Doug, welcome back. Hello.
two completely different games integrated into the same game.
More about the Grand Slam event.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm a big sports fan. So tennis, golf, rugby, they have the Grand Slam. Now we have sports. So with Intel, HDI, and DreamHack, we now have our Grand Slam. Really excited.
Sounds exciting. So I'd like to know a little bit more about Intel's involvement in this.
So every time you get to level 10 for the first time on any account, you get a World of Warcraft mount.
That's amazing.
In Hearthstone.
So I was really excited to hear about your announcement earlier.
Yeah, ready at dawn, Intel and Oculus, we announced that Intel is sponsoring a free release of Echo Arena to all Oculus Rift users when it launches on July 20th for limited time. And
The only thing left, I think, except for this daily quest, is to
that they try and experience the future of VR and esports.
So speaking of
potentially
esports, I'd really love to hear more about Intel's involvement with esports.
Intel has a long history as a leader in esports.
get all of the characters up to level 10, which would take a considerable amount of time.
And that's why we're expanding our
But
partnership
I
with
guess I
Visa
kind of
and
need to
Oculus
do it
launch the
too.
VR Challenge
Or
League.
maybe get
This
everything
kickoff
up to
kicks
rank
off in July,
25.
and it features Echo Arena and the
But
Unspoken. And it gives
instead, I think
esports
I'll just switch over to the
opportunity to compete in
Asian
VR
server
at key upcoming events,
because I
with
still
the
have
finals happening in
some characters to
Poland in
unlock on that.
2015 at the Intel Extreme Masters.
Okay, well that sounds kind of awesome. Well, thank you, Doug. I cannot wait to play this game.
It feels so silly doing the European and Asian servers when my American account has tons of unlocked cards. Not a amazingly great collection, but enough.
So once again, that's Lone Echo. Our next guest announced a game 2 years ago under the title Project Blue Streak, and we now know it as Lawbreakers. Here to talk about not just gameplay, but cold hard dates is the CEO of Bosky Productions himself.
Some of these,
Cliff, welcome to the stage. Thanks for having me.
some of these secret names are silly. They just kind of flood the reporting sector.
The first beta was good, the second beta was
wow, look at Cliff Basensi. He's going for a different look, most definitely. He was so young when he got into way too high of a position of power. And now he's going for a slightly older look.
Publishers, they do these kind of bullshit marketing betas where they're like, oh, it's our beta and the game's out next week. I'm like, that's not really the case. You're not going to be able to fix anything. So for our game, we found that the Ramirez shotgun was way too spammy. Overcharge wasn't that exciting, so we sped that up a little bit and we sped up the characters.
He's not wrong about the fake betas being just hype mechanisms.
Yeah, I mean, you change one thing, it's the butterfly effect. It affects everything else. Is the game going to be balanced on launch? No. That's why we need people's feedback. Play the game, see what characters are overpowered, underpowered, and then we'll introduce new characters. Shuffle the deck.
And I know that it can't be in beta forever, so Cliff, tell us when it's out.
Can we get a drum roll?
Audience, go! Do a thing!
So the game is finally dropping on August 8th on PC and PlayStation 4.
Oh, that's soon.
$29.99, none of that $60 multiplayer only bullshit.
I hope you like my invention.
So,
and if you
he
see it online,
found an interesting way to say, we're charging you $30 for a multiplayer only thing that some people might try to argue for a multiplayer only game. It should be potentially free to play like Overwatch with just unlocks and cosmetic unlocks. Or if it's just going to be a multiplayer game, maybe it should be closer to $10, $15, $20.
Ready for another one? I'm like, I just need a minute, man. I'm shaking over here.
I think the thing people are going to find in this game the most enjoyable is simply how difficult it is.
There's a pretty impressive skill gap. You can't just sit down and dominate within an hour or two.
Practical skill
That's
required.
terrible marketing. I think people are going to enjoy that our game is incredibly difficult. Is it Dark Souls? No? Well then no, people aren't going to enjoy that.
Press you, and if you don't keep on top of it, you're just going to get blown off the map.
I think team comp is definitely a huge thing for this game.
As we're flying around in zero gravity, you know, it's kind of a new situation for us. How do you keep up with your tank and protect them and heal them, also protect your healer?
Seems like zero gravity is becoming a recurring theme slightly.
It gets crazy very quickly.
The gravity is the biggest thing because that adds so much.
Most people don't like zero gravity.
Systems of each character, where some characters can teleport, some characters have dashes.
Most people don't like having to control two things at once.
Is potentially an attack
both
point.
Shooting and controlling your character.
Under the map, saving myself from a grappling hook, whipping myself into the air, shooting at anyone below.
You need to check every possible corner. People are going to fly you with jetpacks, they're going to fly at you with double swords, you're going to have someone that...
So what this introduces is a terrible problem. Is the human eyes cannot look 360 around them. So even if you have the highest of high field of views enabled on your PC, you still aren't going to be able to see the things
slide
behind
and the
you,
jump into 0G, that's great.
and if
Getting, like,
somebody
through the map
can
that fast
fly
is ridiculously
around
using the
in
Vanguard to drift off
zero
the
gravity
side,
and
so I've been
be
coming up
at
behind the
any
enemy. It took, like,
angle,
3-4
any
rounds
direction,
before they caught on.
with the gunslinger.
it's
a very
gonna
precision
just
character, so just,
be a
spinning around,
horrible
popping someone in the
experience
head
for
real quick,
everybody
it
except for
feels free.
the
The game is just aggressive all the time.
best of the best professional players.
I never felt
Uh,
more tested. It makes you think
And even the best of the best professional players are probably going to play the game in crazy ways where they've key-binded a button that has them do a 360 spin and look all around.
That Ballin Intel PC is still up for grabs. Don't miss out if you forgot. This bad boy is running an i7 7700K
I would
processor,
suspect that there's
settings in
a
there.
significant number of people that are going to apply to win that.
You do not want to miss out. Head over to
But I'll try. Why not? I've already given them my account information probably dozens of times before.
I think it can, Sonya, and I also think that it can run our next title. I am a master of transition.
Oh, that's
Our next
really bad.
game is from Chucklefish, the wonderful folks who helped bring you Stardew Valley and Starbound. Let's take a look at their upcoming game, Wargroove.
Did Chucklefish make Stardew Valley, or did they publish it? I mean, the way they phrased that, they probably just published it. Already bored. I said it before. If you don't have a good visual aspects, most people are gonna check out. I'm gonna check out. The visual demands are really, really high, and I don't think any 8-bit NES game strikes me as interesting. I'm hearing some kind of clicking a couple of times. I don't know if that's the game or if somebody's just playing with a lighter and their mic isn't muted. So the divide in the screen there seems to be a maybe effect-based systems where one character might be better in one area and some enemies might be weaker in certain areas.
Today, we're not just going to get a chance to talk about the game, but we'll be seeing the editor in action.
And it has some kind of editor into it, which probably dictated the art style, which limits everything.
Definitely kind of inspirations of ours, you know. Wargroove is a turn-based tactical strategy game. It's a game about starting to build up your resources every mission,
really
push
boring.
forward into your enemy territory, and just kind of dominate the map and make the right choices. But yeah, we've got a lot of unique kind of gameplay mechanics, and we're bringing it into the modern age. We've got online play, mod support, and kind of content creation as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're going to get a chance to look at today. Boris, who's operating the PC right now, tell us what it is we're looking at.
So what we're looking at today is the world map of Wargroove, and this is our campaign editor. So these are the tools we use in-house to create Wargroove campaigns, and we're shipping them with the game so players can create their own scenarios. So I've been
Now, as I hear this person talking with a heavy foreign accent, I won't try to guess what it is. It makes me wonder that if her and this team's worldview, as far as what the video game industry is and what games can succeed and what games can fail or will fail, might be adjusted by where you are. And almost certainly it is for any of them. Video game developers in the West, in the United States, probably know that they've got to compete against all these AAA titles. If you were, for example, in a country that where a lot of the English-speaking AAA titles don't come, or aren't as popular, you might think, heck, I could make something like this game and it could actually succeed. Now, Steam should be a unifying force to prove people wrong on that thought. People should be able, in any language, to see the thousands and thousands of games on Steam, hundreds of which look like this, and realize that you probably don't have anything that unique to sell if it looks like this. And you buy with your eyes way before you actually play the game, because frankly, most people aren't even going to give it the time of day if it doesn't look interesting. I've played so many bad games that looked interesting and would be a lot happier playing a bad game that looks interesting over a good game that looks boring. The only thing that would get me to play a game that looked like this is a consistent report of people having played it and actually enjoyed it. And those reports at this point have to kind of come from trusted sources, and most video game review sites and such, at best, I only halfway trust, because they often are just doing paid advertising or something else that proves that they're not purely objective. Was that the show?
The next game that we get the opportunity to talk about is the sequel.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does just kind of end.
Officially announced release date, guys, is October 10th. Here to talk to me about it is Michael, the Vice President.
And see, they're still telling more release dates and more facts in this than some of the other streams. Like, even though Xbox showed a lot of trailers for live games, they didn't say out loud the release dates. They had text showing up and saying when this is coming out or when that is coming out.
Really hard to do. The obvious is take the things that were good that worked in the first game, so combat and the Nemesis system and this world that we created, and to build on that, but also to take the lessons we learned.
I wouldn't be amazingly surprised if it turned out that this Shadow of Mordor sequel is a little bit shorter. Clearly they want to make this a close to annualized series, and so they probably won't move the story too far away, and the game is more open in its gameplay. So there was the single player aspect, and then there was the potential to just continue playing after that point. And I wouldn't be surprised if after you play the story of this sequel you can just keep on playing, which might actually in the long run hurt it, because if when they come out with the third game of the trilogy, hopefully they have to hope that people aren't burnt out of playing the previous one, particularly since we're going to start seeing the rip-offs of the Nemesis system come out pretty soon.
We're going to get a chance to delve a little bit more into those story bits with a unique cinematic based on one of the characters that was in the trailer. Can you introduce her for us, Eltario?
Yeah, so she's one of the new characters we're introducing into the world.
They did introduce a couple of characters in the previous game and the DLC for the previous game, and they didn't really go anywhere.
And you as Talion relationship with her, but she's this awesome character, and as well as that, she gets her own playable campaign, story DLC as well, which is the way to
That's pathetic. Getting defeated by the innkeeper by the basic easy practicing.
We talked about how important story is to Shadow of War, so let's take a little bit of a look at 2 minutes of the cinematic. Eltariel meeting.
So the first game is called Shadow of Mordor. This is called Shadow of War. So they're keeping the shadow. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they just tried to spin it off completely away from the J.O. Tolkien style completely and came out with something Shadow of something else.
And yet you live.
Hmm.
What's that like? To die and live again? Do you feel pain? Do you suffer?
What of the city? Of the Palantir?
The Nazgul have taken both. They belong to the Dark Lord now.
Like, I could see setting a game like this in a completely different world, or just a fantasy world.
Your rings are the cause of all this, Elf Lord.
You can see him.
I see him.
Who are you?
I'm the Blade of Galadriel.
Since when does Galadriel work with assassins?
Great threats make for unlikely alliances. You know this better than most. Now tell me more about this ring.
We crafted it to defeat Sauron.
The Nazgul will be drawn to the power of the ring.
We cannot let it fall into Sauron's hands. The light of Galadriel, give it to us!
Stay your hand. My light will protect us, but it will not leave my side.
We must move.
Job's done. Try to keep up.
So maybe we'll get away from the main character by the time the third game comes out. It's kind of odd to talk about the third game when the second game hasn't even come out, but
excited to see where the story goes in the sequel. And I'm pleased to say we have one final game to announce. It's from Microsoft, and I'm not even allowed to see the name yet. So joining me to talk about said unnamed game is the creative director for Microsoft Studios, Adam Eisgreen. Welcome, Adam. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Love being here.
it'd be a little odd for Microsoft to not announce something at their own conference.
I am coming up on my 25th year making video games, so yes, you can actually make a career out of being in games.
One person can.
And, you know, I got my start in the DOS days. Remember DOS?
Like, oh, yeah, dude, I played Zork all day.
So, I got my start in the DOS days doing role-playing games, D&D games, but I spent a heck of a lot of time making real-time strategy games. So I was with Westwood Studios for years.
So,
Conquer series. Earth and Beyond.
So a Command and Conquer sequel, but not named because Microsoft doesn't own Command and Conquer. Not like EA did anything with it.
Homage to those roots, and I'm still not going to tell you what it is, but I know you're curious, so let's.
But this seems like Halo Wars too. So not really a Command and Conquer game. That doesn't look like Halo Wars 2. But this must be just a new IP. Unless it's Age of Empires, which I think it is. I think that's the name that Microsoft owns, is Age of Empires. '20th anniversary, yeah. Remaster of Age of Empires, fully remastered in 4K UHD. New zoom levels, yeah, you're gonna need new zoom levels at 4K. New and improved gameplay, that's almost a demand. Has to be new gameplay. So, this is probably one of the most interesting conundrums as an offer. This is what I think they should have done in some of the other streams for EA and Bethesda, is go into your old games and either remaster them or just re-release them with minimal work. But is it an online game? Oh. No, you lost me. You lost me, it's an online game. It seems.
Adam.
If I can't install it through Steam, I'll say no, but... or if it's an online game, I'll say no, but... Slightly interesting. Of course, you probably won't get a free upgrade if you already own Age of Empires. You're gonna have to rebuy it. Probably fair enough, considering it seems like they've done a decent amount of work on it. There's several Age of Empires though, so if this succeeds, they'll probably do Age of Empires 2 remaster. If it doesn't succeed, then you'll probably be stuck with only Age of Empires 1 being remastered ever.
Because I remember just watching the sprites move around in the original game. It was very blocky and stuttery.
16 facings now, so there's fonts don't jitter. You know, a ton of work has gone into making the game and the presentation.
It probably wouldn't be too hard to take what you did to remaster Age of Empires 1 and release next year Age of Empires 2.
Now, I have to ask, there were some aspects to the gameplay back then that were a little janky. Have there been any updates to the gameplay in that regard?
Yes. So not only have we done things like improved Find Path, which is of course always a big thing in RTS games, we've gone in and actually modernized the UI. A lot of people forget that original Age didn't even have an idle villagers button. So all of that stuff, attack, move, all of those things that people come to expect.
Control
in RTS,
groups?
Yes.
Yes,
groups.
1A.
Yep. So all of that stuff is all in the game now. So we've taken all of the learnings from the Age games that followed and brought it up.
And this is exactly what I wish Bethesda, well, no, Blizzard Activision would do with Warcraft, not World of Warcraft. I don't guess Blizzard or Activision even have a conference or announcement. They just do it at BlizzCon, which is probably the smarter move.
What about the beta that we saw at the end of that video?
Yes, so it will be out later this year, but you can go right now to ageofempires.com and sign up for our multiplayer beta. You know, RTS games are really, multiplayer is so important.
They feel like they're trying to make this old game into an esports multiplayer game, and I don't think that's going to work.
You asked me before we hopped on if you wanted to say one more special bit, a little bit of a tease. We understand that it's the 20th anniversary of Age of Empires. What is it you wanted to say?
So, yes, Age of Empires, the whole franchise will be it's hitting its 20 mark in October of this year. And this is the start.
Not the whole franchise, the first game. Doesn't work that way unless you released every game in the same year.
That party's going to roll. We're going to continue that. So you're going to hear from us again in Cologne, Germany at Gamescom in August. And we're going to be having a really wonderful Age of Empires event there and talking a whole bunch about stuff that you want to
This one's mine.
I think I'm going to want to hear it. Well, let me just say, Adam, thank you so much for coming out. We're super excited about Age of Empires. And with that, our slew of announcements comes to an end. Before we depart, let's head back up to the mezzanine with Sonya for one last hello.
Thank you, Sean. I had an amazing time being a part of some awesome game reveals and kicking it with you guys today. If you want any more information on any of the games that you saw today, go to PCGamer.com. If you want to hang out with me and check me out on the internet at OMG It's Firefox, pretty much everywhere. I had a blast, and for one last time, back to you, Sean.
I have to applaud at least Day 9 and AOMG It's Firefox promoting themselves and doing a good job versus most of the other streamers in the others on the other shows where they kind of just showed up and were used for brief reaction clips of like, oh my god, that game is so great.
It is an absolute pleasure to have your support. And
Here,
I'd also
these
like to give a shout
actually,
out to all the
those two
developers
that
and the
we've been
publishers
watching
at their
here
recent conferences that have been going on
feel
in the
like
last week.
actual
We were
actors
super
and
excited about the
capable
titles
of
there and following
presenting.
closely because we're gamers at heart, and we hope that you too enjoyed what we had to share with you today. And as crazy as it sounds, E3 starts tomorrow.
Always create more.
So we hope that you get the chance to get your hands on some of the titles that were announced in the last week that you're pumped for. From all the folks at
This
PC
is also
Gaming
very
Week,
weird
Day 9, have a
for
wonderful day
me,
and go play
as
some video games.
somebody who's
See you
just
next
watching
year.
the streams and isn't actually at E3. It ends today for me, but for everybody else who's actually there, they it just starts. So let me pull up the schedule. At 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time is the Ubisoft conference. We're expecting probably a decent amount of streaming of announcements from Ubisoft, because Ubisoft loves to announce things and put out a lot more games. At least 4 or 5 of them that we already know of. So that's good. Let's switch over here. So I'm on my Asian account right now, and I've got 3 card packs I want to do, and then I want to save some of these other card packs for the Ubisoft and Sony conference. So let's just do this. Just got all 9 of the characters unlocked on the Asian account. I still have a ton of things I need to do though, like since daily quests now in the newest update on Hearthstone can be done with friends, I more than ever now need people on the European accounts to friend me and the Asian accounts, because I may in my regular Hearthstone streams need to play people just so we can get the daily quest done in triplicate. So every 3 days I stream Hearthstone, and usually when E3 is not going on. So every 3 days I might need somebody to help me and play with me so I can get 3 daily quests on the Asian account done, which nobody's on the Asian account has friended me. A lot of people have friended me on the European account, but I'm not sure how many of them will be awake at the same time. That's it for the PC gaming stream. Not really that bad. Way better than Digital Devolver's stream, which had nothing to do with video games and was a complete waste of time. They showed us a few new things. They kept everything tight. They had the slight problems on keeping things separate that just needed a little bit of an applause break or something, or an announcer just to keep separate what they were actually talking about. But overall, not bad. I thought that they were going to focus a lot more on just trying to hype Intel i9 processors that only got mentioned even once, and they didn't really partner with any other manufacturers of any other kind of hardware. So we didn't hear any MSI talk or Asus or Gigabyte or like Intel motherboards or Crucial Memory or Dell computers. There was a Dell monitor that they were using, and that was probably paid product placement, but they kept it focused on games. So I think next year when I do the streams, if I can get myself to wake up, I would do the PC gaming show again. They did a nice show considering that the expectations were a lot lower. I thought they were just going to show trailers that had already been seen over and over again. The worst part about this is the timing. Honestly, I don't know why it's so early when Ubisoft is at 1 p.m. and then Sony is at 6 p.m. All these announcement times are spread out. I don't know if that's because they're in the same conference room and they're clearing out the conference room and cleaning it, or if it's because there's other conferences or announcements that are happening that aren't being streamed, or what. Anyways, that's it for this stream. Come back at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 1 p.m. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because all that helps me out and tells YouTube that my videos are worth watching. When you subscribe, click the notification bell to get notifications so you know when my next video is available. If you want to friend or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.